All right, so you're gearing up for the MRCS, right?
Yep.
I know time is like gold right now, so we're going to cut right to the chase with something you are absolutely going to see on that exam. Stomas.
Definitely.
This deep dive, let's call it like your stoma survival guide,
Mm.
packed with all the need-to-know stuff to crush those questions.
Exactly. Ready to dive in.
Ready when you are. Okay, so for starters, think of a stoma, like imagine a bridge, right?
Okay.
A temporary one built over a road that's been, damaged or something. Sometimes things can't go the usual route, got to take a detour, and boom, that's where a stoma comes in. Rerouting things, sometimes for a little bit, sometimes, well, forever.
Perfect analogy. And it's interesting. The word stoma itself, it actually comes from the Greek word for opening. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, totally.
Any opening connecting one part of the body to another.
And we've all got them, natural ones, I mean.
Yeah.
Our mouths, for example.
Right.
But obviously, surgeons create them too for all sorts of reasons, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
knowing those reasons, that's key for the MRCS.
Yeah.
So why create a stoma? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. Sometimes it's for feeding, like if a patient can't swallow.
Makes sense.
Other times it's for lavage, like washing out a body cavity,
Right.
bringing a part of an organ to the surface during surgery, or to decompress or drain an area.
Gotcha. It's like this whole toolkit of reasons why you'd need to make that alternative pathway.
Yeah.
And the source also mentioned all these different types of scomas, which seems a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
What are the must-knows there?
Well, first off, they can be temporary or permanent, depends on the situation, obviously. Then you've got end stomas, where you basically bring the bowel to the surface and either remove or close off the end.
Okay.
Or you have loop stomas, where a loop of bowel is brought out, creating two openings.
Two openings.
Yeah. And of course, location, location, location. That plays a huge role too.
Right, of course. And I was thinking, for the MRCS, we got to talk colostomies and ileostomies, right?
Absolutely. Those are your bread and butter, bringing part of the colon or the ileum to the surface of the abdomen.
So those are high yield for the exam because
Because you've got to know why you do them.
Yeah.
The specifics of the techniques, and of course, all the ways things could go wrong. Like take a colostomy, for example.
Okay.
You could do an end, a loop, or even a double barrel technique, each with its own, pros and cons.
Wow. And
Yeah.
I remember the source talked about picking the right spot for the stoma, like before surgery even starts.
It's super important. Absolutely crucial.
Yeah. They specifically mentioned marking the spot with the patient standing and he's sitting. What's the logic there?
Well, think about it. If that stoma ends up in a bad spot, like under a belt or tucked away in a skin fold, that's a recipe for disaster. Leaks, skin irritation, problems with the ostomy bag, whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah, not good.
Exactly. So by having them stand and sit, you make sure it's going to work no matter what position they're in.
Seems like a stoma nurse would be essential for that whole process.
Oh, absolutely. It's a team effort. Stoma nurse is a rock star when it comes to pre-op marking and getting the patient ready, mentally and all that.
Yeah.
And then during surgery, the surgeon has to keep in mind things like tension on the bowel, making sure it's healthy and that there's good blood supply.
It's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
And I imagine complications can still pop up even when everything's done perfectly, right?
Sadly, yeah. Some are immediate, like bleeding, ischemia, or even necrosis of the stoma itself. That's when you got to act fast.
Yikes. Those immediate ones really underline just how critical this surgery is. What about complications that might show up a bit later?
Well, early on, you might see things like high output. That's when you're losing too much fluid from the stoma. You got to be on top of that with fluid management. Or you might get an obstruction where things aren't draining properly.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and that often needs another surgery to fix it.
Wow. So we've covered the immediate and the early stuff. What about the long haul, like long-term issues?
In the long term, you can see things like prolapse where the stoma kind of bulges outward, or retraction where it sinks inwards. Then there's stenosis, the opening narrowing, and of course, peristomal hernias. Those are always a concern.
Right. And the source also went into a whole bunch of other potential issues too, didn't they? Like skin problems around the stoma, electrolyte imbalances, even fistulas.
Absolutely. Managing a stoma, it's not just about the surgery itself, it's the long game. Follow-up, teaching the patient how to take care of it, dealing with anything that pops up.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
Luckily, there are some really cool new devices and technologies these days that can make a big difference in a patient's quality of life.
That's good to hear. And it's so easy to just focus on the technical stuff, but it's important to remember the psychological and social side of things too. A stoma, that's a huge adjustment.
100%. It can turn someone's life upside down. So as surgeons, we need to be there for the whole journey, not just the surgery itself.
Couldn't agree more. So as you're studying for the MRCS, really think about how managing stomas, surgically and otherwise, impacts a patient's whole life, not just their physical health.
That's a great takeaway. That kind of thinking, that's what'll set you apart on the exam. And more importantly, make you a better doctor.
Absolutely. All right, that's a wrap for today. Until next time.
See ya!